guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a magic ring in 3 different sizes and 3 different types of yarn. This is usually for starting amigurumi or plushies. This can be quite hard, especially if you're just starting out, so make sure you watch and rewatch the video to understand. That's what it's here for, so you can keep coming back to it. So the first yarn I'm going to show you is just with standard acrylic double knit yarn. This is your most common yarn that you'll probably find. For this yarn, I'm going to be using just a 5mm hook, but make sure you use the yarn and the hook appropriate to your pattern. This is just a tutorial to show you how to do the initial parts of it. So when you do a magic ring, you are going to be working usually in continuous rounds, so you have to start with a circle. If you already know how to do a normal slip knot with this technique, it's really similar to this, except you just add a chain onto it before you finish the slip knot. So to do that, or if you don't know, I'm just going to start from the beginning, but that's the best explanation I have if you already know how to do a slip knot. So holding the yarn in the palm of your hand, you're going to loop the yarn under and over and form an X on the side of your finger. Using your ring finger, you're going to hold the yarn down so that it's not falling about anywhere. You are going to put the hook underneath your first loop, which is the tail end of the yarn, under that one and over the working end of the yarn, and pull up a loop. When you give it a little twist like this, it should stay in place so that you don't have to, so you don't end up losing it. I then find where my working yarn is. So this one that's closest to your fingernails is going to be your tail end. The one furthest should be your working yarn. You're going to go underneath that one, your working yarn, and you're going to pull it through the loop that you're working on. It might be a little bit fiddly. It is with this yarn anyway. And then you should end up with a circle that doesn't fall completely to pieces when you take your fingers away. So you have where your working yarn was, the X that you had, and the chain one that you've then created so that you can start forming your magic ring. Normally a pattern will tell you how many stitches and which stitch to put into this one. The most common that I see in patterns is 6 single crochet in a magic ring. It's usually 6 SC in MR or MC. Magic circle, magic ring, it's all the same thing. So once you have your circle, you can then go into the main part. You want to make sure you get both of these strands, the working yarn and the tail yarn, and you're going to pull up a single crochet as normal. So pull up that loop, yarn over and pull through 2. That gives you 1 single crochet in a magic ring. You're then going to do the same thing again, pulling up that loop and then yarning over and pulling through, making sure it's not too tight. If it's too tight, the magic won't happen. You'll see in a minute what the magic is. And again for 3, yarn over, pull through 2, and then 4, 5 and 6, and this gives you your starting 6 single crochet in a magic ring. You are then going to take your tail end of yarn, holding onto your stitches nice and gently, and you're just going to pull it nice and tight until you end up with a little circle and that hole is closed. Some yarns might need a little bit of pulling. Chenille yarn, which I'll show you in a minute, is much harder to do a magic circle with. I always count backwards 6 because I sometimes get my my starting chain mixed up with my stitches. So if I've only done 5, I might end up using my starting chain by accident. And then if you're going to work in a continuous round, you're going to go into that first stitch, and if you are finishing it there, you can just slip stitch, or you can start off your round. It's usually an increase when it comes to plushies, so you can put 2 single crochets into that first stitch and then continue that all the way around until you have 12 stitches. This is how I start a lot of my patterns, especially the ones that I've written, because I feel like it's the easiest way to remember how to do it. And you end up with a lovely, lovely little circle with 12 single crochets total. You can start with 8. I have some patterns that even have just 1 in a magic ring. It all depends on the pattern that you have and what you're making to determine what size magic ring you'll need, how many stitches you'll need, and that is your completed magic ring. You might not have to do increases around, but just so that it was easier to see. You can see I've still got a tiny little gap in my magic ring, and if I just hold it between my fingers and pull it nice and tight, that little gap disappears. Now with chenille yarn, I currently have chenille yarn that I have recently unpicked, and you can kind of see that it's not exactly flat. It's not consistent. I've unpicked it, and so it does mess with the chenille a bit. You are probably not going to be able to do a magic ring with yarn that looks like this. So I just cut it and I add it to my scrap yarn pile, because it's really hard to work with, especially doing magic rings when it's in this state. So don't feel bad if you can't do it. This happens to me all the time. It just gets caught on the stitches when you try and pull it through. So definitely just add that to your stuffing pile so you can use it later for plushies or any other stuffing that you might want to use it for. Once you have good consistent yarn, get your appropriate hook size. I'm going to use a size 6 for this, as that's what it says on my label. This one is definitely a 6mm yarn. I a lot of the time use 5mm, but just for the sake of showing, it's easier to use a 6. So once again, you are gonna have your yarn in your palm of your hand, using your thumb to keep it in place. Cross it over and hook it under your ring finger, taking your crochet hook under the first, over the second. You are going to pull up a loop and hold it in place, identifying your working yarn as opposed to your tail yarn. You are going to pull up a loop and pull it through that chain, pull it through to make a chain in that loop that you had, and then you can remove your fingers out of the way and still have a circle with a chain on it. I usually, with chenille yarn, I just undo the tail a little bit because it can get a bit stuck and it makes it harder to pull through, so I end up with something that looks a little bit like this instead. And you're going to do the exact same thing again. You're going to go into the middle of that circle and make 6 single crochets into that loop, making sure you're getting both the yarn, the working yarn and the tail yarn into it. If you don't, the magic won't happen once again. It's really important that you make it, because it ends up being like a drawstring. If your yarn doesn't pull through the first time, because chenille yarn doesn't tend to, even if you pull it, you're likely to break it like this, go back and do only 2 single crochets in this magic ring, and then attempt to pull it instead of making 6, because it catches and you end up with gaps in it which stick inside the loops. So I try and work with a hole as small as possible, because if it doesn't pull through, then I've still got quite a little gap. There's much less to pull in at the end. And then putting your 6 into it. You can keep pulling it slightly as you go, just so that it doesn't get caught, but don't pull it too tight because you won't be able to get stitches into it. And then once you have all 6 stitches, pull it as tight as you can without snapping the yarn. If you pull it too tight, it will just break off completely. So give it a nice good tug. If you have to undo this for any reason, you're probably better off just cutting it. And then you can count back like I do if you like, or if you know where your first stitch was in the first place, you can just go straight into that one to close the loop and start your next round. If you still have holes in it, you can go back in later with a needle and thread with the chenille yarn and close it up a little bit more. But for now, that is the chenille yarn. And the last yarn I'm going to be showing you in is this super chunky yarn. I think this is just from Aldi, but it's just a good example of being able to see what I'm doing. So once again, hand nice and flat, fingers, thumb holding it down, 2 fingers out, make a cross, keep it under your ring finger, under the first loop, over the second, pull up that loop, working yarn, pull it through, make a chain, and then you have your loop. I've not done a magic circle with this one yet, but we'll see how it goes. This is really chunky yarn, so it might be a little bit hard to do. I'm going to do 2 single crochet like I did with the chenille and just make sure it's still going to pull, which it is. I think this is going to be quite an easy one to work with, which is nice. But once again, doing your single crochet, make sure you don't lose this end as well. If you crochet over it, you're not going to be able to pull your magic loop up. You're not going to be able to pull it tight, so make sure that it is definitely still out. You're not going to crochet over it. If you are, just pull it slightly more through. And then for this one, you pull it nice and tight that works really nicely, and it completely closes up, and you can then work into your second round going back from your first single crochet. Oh, that was squeaky. In your work, that was super duper tight. And if you're going to do an increase, you can go twice in there. There we go. So you can work into your next round. That's nice and tight, and you can see it from there. If you have any suggestions or want to see any video tutorials, please leave me a comment below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you would like some more tutorials. Check out my channel for other videos. Find my social media if you like, and give me a little bit of support if you can. I hope you like this video. I hope it was helpful. If you need any more advice, please just give me a comment, give me a message, comment on any of my videos. I respond on all of them. And thank you for your support. All right, bye.